right, we're going to look at the answers for ACT Day 2. I believe the first question you saw was the cost of a long distance call to a certain city is $1.05 for the first minute, 15 cents for each additional. I would be highlighting those pieces of information, and then the call was 15 minutes. So if we kind of think of this, if I had 105 for the first minute, for the next minute I would add on 15, plus I'd add on 15. So first minute, second minute, third minute, fourth minute, keep going all the way. And you'll notice that there's a pattern of you keep adding 15. With that, we really, if we have lots of addition, we can make it multiplication. So we're going to multiply 0.15 by however many minutes. Now, the total call was 15 minutes, but the first minute is different, so I don't want to include it on my multiplication. I'm only going to multiply by 14 because here is my first minute over here for the $1.05. So the $1.05 plus, we're going to take the 0.15 times the 14, which I need a calculator. Okay, so let's see, 15 times 14, 140 plus 7, 210, I believe. So this is going to be 1.05 plus $2.10. Then we're going to add that and get 3.15, which is right here as our H. Okay. Now, similarly on the next one, we are gonna okay, so we got a property valuing at $56,000 is assessed at 3/4 of its value. The yearly tax is calculated as $3 for every 100. So the first thing we have to do is find out what 3/4 of our 56,000 is. So that's kind of our first step to do. So I'm going to take a calculator and take it times 3 and then divide by 4, and I get 42,000. Okay. So that's how much we're going to pay tax on, is the 42,000. So now for the 42,000, it's going to cost $3 for every 100. So what I can do is I can divide that 42,000 by 100, and that's going to give me 420. So that's how many hundreds I have, and I need to take that times 3. And that gives me my value. Okay. So I had a lot of little steps in there, and feel free to be using a calculator on these. You are allowed that. All right. Now we have a sequence. The first 5 terms of a sequence are given in the table below. Now I didn't put the table in your problem, but I gave you that sequence of 9, 10, 14, 23, 39. The sequence is defined as a sub 1 equaling 9. And then it has this equation. And this equation is really important because that's what we're going to use. Now if I want the 6th term, that means that I'm going to use the 5th term plus 6 minus 1 squared. So I'm plugging that in. And the 5th term was given. The 5th term was 39. 6 minus 1. Remember your order of operations said that parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So we'll do the parentheses first, which makes that 5. Then we'll do the exponents. So that makes it 25. Then we do the addition. 50, 64 as our answer. Okay. Okay. ready for another coordinate plane one. We have in the standard coordinate plane, the graph of the line 3x minus 4y equals d passes through the point -5, 6. What is the value of d? Now, if it passes through a point, that means that we can plug that point in. So I'm going to take the I'm going to take 3x minus 4y equals d, but I'm going to place the x and y with numbers. So I'm going to take that and put it here and here. So I'm going to put my -5 for my x, and I'm going to put my 6 for my y. And I'm going to go ahead and calculate that. -15, -24, -39, and that's what my d is. So I just had to plug that point in, and I'll be able to solve for that. Okay, and our last question for this section. Which of the following operations will produce the largest result when substituted for the blank in the expression? So now we're trying to figure out how can I combine these in a way that'll make the largest. You have a couple options. With ACT, you could take the time and do all of them. And I probably would start with the easiest and then work your way up. You can also start talking about the fact that you've got a negative here. So what happens when you multiply or divide by a negative? And so right away, I kind of looked at those first. Even though I'm not going to actually find the answer. Now, you could use a calculator and just start plugging these all in. But right away, I know that when I take a positive times a negative, I get a negative answer. So this is going to be negative. This is going to be negative. And I know negatives are not large numbers. So if they're negative, I'm probably not going to want them to be my largest result. Also, if I add them, if I add 11 and a -1/8, it's going to be negative. So to me, those rule those three out pretty quick, that those cannot be my largest values. So I'm kind of stuck between the subtraction and the averaging. So let's go ahead and see what happens if I subtract. If I subtract a negative, then that comes out as addition. So I've got a positive number, which makes us happy. That's what we're wanting, is something large. And then an average, we add them together and divide by 2. So an average, I'm going to add and divide by 2. So that's a lot like this adding down here. And so when I do that, I guess adding doesn't give me a negative, but it does give me, sorry, my bad. It doesn't give me a negative, but it does make it smaller than this, so it'll be smaller. And so our subtractions should be our largest, or minus, in this case.